We've now reached verse 8 of 100 verses of advice by Padampa Sangye. So verse 8 states, "Family and friends are no more real than a magic show. In your fondness for them, don't tie yourself down." So when we think of family and friends, of course it makes us happy. But actually, that happiness can soon turn to hatred or resentment or all the other things that go on in families and friends. So we hang on to the family and our friends as though they're permanent, but of course they're not permanent. So because we're attached to them, because we cling to them, when they die or when they leave us, then we suffer badly. So we should see that they're just like a magic show. When the magician conjures up like an elephant or something, he knows that elephant is not real. It's just an illusion. So he doesn't get attached to it. So we should be doing the same with family and friends. We should see that family and friends are just an illusion. They're not real. They're not here. They're not permanent. So the magician will never get attached to his illusion, and we should never get attached to our family and friends. It doesn't mean we shouldn't love them. It just means that we shouldn't cling to them, because by clinging to them, from clinging comes control. One minute we're holding on to them and clinging to them and getting attached to them, and the next minute we're trying to control them. And then both of those things are going to bring endless amount of suffering for you and for your family and friends. So we need to be like a magician, and we just see these things as illusions. And then verse 9 is, "Country and land are like a nomad's pasture. Don't cling to sentimentally to them." So the country that we are born in this life, we call our homeland. But actually, it's not really our homeland. It's just our homeland in this life. But in our past lives, we've been born in many different places. So we can't really say that any place is really our homeland. And once we start talking like that and start saying that this is my homeland or this is my motherland, then we start clinging again, and we start getting attached again, and we start becoming nationalistic. And nothing good comes from being nationalistic. Once you're nationalistic, once you hang on to that identity of I'm of this nation and it means this, then anybody who isn't like that, we call them anti-national. So even if they're born in the same country as you, if they don't stick to the values that you think they should, you think they're anti-national people. So just by being nationalistic, you're starting to split people of the same country. So we shouldn't really hang on to this that I'm British or I'm an Indian or I'm a Pakistani, whatever it is. Because in many lifetimes we've been all these things. In your past life you've been British, you've been American, you've been a Pakistani, you've been all these different things, and you will again in your future lives. So we shouldn't really hold on to this idea that this is my motherland, this is my homeland. It is at the moment, but it's temporary. You're just visiting, and later on in your next life you'll visit another country. So we should be like nomads that move around the whole time, move from place to place. The nomad doesn't get attached. The nomad will go here for summer, go there for winter. If the grass is good for summer, they'll go to a different place. So we should be like that, or we are like that. We're in this place for a short time and then we're going to move on. So when we become nationalistic, then it again brings suffering for us and it brings suffering for others. And verse 10 is, "As parents, all beings in the 6 realms have cared for you. Don't relate to them with your ideas of I and mine." So in Buddhism we talk a lot about mother compassion. So we say that to have compassion for all beings, we should see everybody as being our mother. In our past life, we've been everybody's mother, and everybody has been our mother. So sometimes that doesn't work if you're not that close to your mother, but if you see that all sentient beings have either been your mother or your father or your friend or even your enemy in a past life. So we're interconnected in that way. But when we start seeing people through the lens of I and mine, then we start to cause problems for ourselves. Because again, we start to cling to things. It says here, by sticking to notions of I and mine and blindly following the feelings of attraction and repulsion to which these notions give rise, we accumulate negative karma. So it says, let's stop doing it. So once we start seeing that, that's mine and I, then we're going to cause a lot of problems for ourselves, because there is no I and there is no mind. There's no solid I, there's no solid mind. Actually, I just had on Instagram an interest in to and fro with somebody. He was talking about no self, and he was saying that Buddha was saying there was no self. So then who is there to think, and who is there to change things, and who is there to get attached, because there's no self, so nothing to get attached from. And I was saying he misunderstanding that Buddha didn't say there's no self. He was talking about non-self. And there's a big difference between no self. No self is like a nihilistic. There's no self, there's nothing. And non-self really is the middle path between a nihilism and permanence. So non-self means that we are not the self that we think we are. We see ourselves as solid, as permanent, and as independent self. So we're not solid, we're like a river, we're forever flowing. We're not permanent, we're impermanent, we're forever changing. And we're not independent. We're actually dependent on each other, we're dependent on many things. We're made up of so many different parts. So when we talk about non-self, we're not saying that there's not you. I mean, just go and look in the mirror. You can see a you. But you're not seeing the true you. You're not seeing that the body that you're looking at is forever changing. So there's nothing to hold on to. There's nothing in the body that you can say is a self. If you look at your thoughts again are always changing. So there's not one thought that you can say is you. This thought is myself. Because they're forever changing. The same with your feelings, the same with your emotions, and the same with your experiences. They're forever changing. They're just all of them. Like yourself is just like a flowing river. So it means that the non-self doesn't mean you don't exist, because you know you exist, but you don't exist in the way that you think you do. And why Buddha talks about this is because of attachment and clinging. When we think we are a solid, independent, permanent self, we cling to that. And not only do we cling to it, we try to protect it. If somebody says something against it, we will fight against that. If somebody says something that we don't agree with or something that hurts us, we will fight against it, because we believe that this self, this individual permanent self, is being attacked. So when Buddha spoke about non-self, he wasn't talking about you don't exist. It's just that you don't exist in the way that you perceive yourself to. And when you understand about non-self, then you're not going to cling, you're not going to get attached, you're not going to be nationalistic, you're not going to cling to your friends and your family, because you can see that everything in the world is just flowing. And at the moment, these are your friends, these are your family members, this is the country you're born in, but you're flowing. This river of yours is flowing towards the ocean, and the ocean is death. And then you'll be born again in a different place, a different body, different friends, different family, different country. So there's nothing to hold on to. So the notion that this man was putting across of no self is a real strong misunderstanding. And it leads to then, why should I bother? If you believe in no self, you're going to say, then why should I bother? If there's no self, why should I care? Why should I be nice to you? Why should I be kind to people? You know, why can't I just go and kick that dog? Because there's no me, there's no self, nothing's real. So it leads to a real nihilistic way of thinking, and it leads you to the wrong view and the wrong path. And actually I put this point across to him, and his reply to me was, it's just typical pandits like you. Instead of saying they don't know, then you write rubbish like this. So again, he wouldn't listen, he didn't understand, and he was so attached to his view of no self, which is unfortunate. So this I and this me and this mine is a real problem for us, and if we understand that, then we're not going to get attached to ourselves, we're not going to get attached to our country, to our identity, to our family and our friends. And if we're not getting attached, we are not causing ourselves and other people suffering.